Hi, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, tonight we have the band Wretched Fate, who are a Swedish band who play their death metal with lots of groove, blast beats, and some hardcore and some grind elements as well. But if you can also cast your mind back to when I reviewed the first album, the debut album, Fleshlighting, I started off by simply saying buy it. So I very much look forward to finding out what we have in store with our second album, Carnal Heresy. So tonight we've got the bassist Robin and we also have vocalist Adrian. So how are you guys doing? Have you managed to escape all this COVID nonsense? How's things in Sweden?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I think I caught COVID once in this period, so yeah, it was kind of awful, but nothing serious, so to speak.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I was going to ask about how it affects your vocal cords, but we'll keep that till later on. But what about yourself, Robin? How have you been? You okay?
Yeah, I've been good. I caught COVID also once about like a year ago or so. Nothing serious at all. So it's been fine.
Yeah, good. Well, touch wood. I haven't had it myself yet, so but I've done like 5 COVID tests during the week there. I was absolutely rotten, but it's just man flu. But anyway, which as we know is worse than COVID. But yes, but it's delighted to see it's been a wee while in the making, and delighted to see, Adrian, that you had a wee shave before you came on the interview. But with the brand new album, Carnal Heresy, getting released this Friday, actually, how does it feel to finally release it after all the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into it?
Feels like shit. No, it's as you put it, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I think once Friday comes, all I'm gonna feel is just emptiness, more or less. A bit of joy, of course. But once it's released, it's like, okay, can we move on now? Let's do something new.
Is it fair to say that the majority album is a few years old? I mean, did you start writing this album immediately after Fleshlighting then, by what you're saying?
We actually started writing the record before the release of Fleshlighting. So yeah, so some of the material is from 2018. So yeah, it's been around for a long time, and you've been listening to lots of versions of the mix and the mastering and so on. So you've heard the tracks at least 100 times by now.
So how's it going to be, Robin, when you're about to play it live? And as like Adrian has said, you've already played it 100 times in the studio and stuff like that. Do you never get bored of it, or you just cannot wait to play it in front of an audience?
I mean, it's always different once you start playing it and rehearsing it, because we've been hearing the songs for so long that you as Adrian said, you grow tired of them. But then as soon as you take it into the rehearsal space and try to make it sort of like a thing that you're going to perform live, it kind of ignites the flame again. So it's like it becomes interesting and fun again. So, and there are a lot of the songs, for me personally, I don't know about you, Adrian, but for me, at least on the record, there've always been songs, that, you like some songs a little bit more than others. And then once you go into the rehearsal space, some of the songs you get like, oh, okay, shit. Yeah, I get it now. Like, this is actually because once you start playing it and you're like, yeah, this is heavy.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun, actually, to start rehearsing these songs and putting them into our repertoire. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. But before we continue, I just have to, I don't know how I managed to do this, but there's a Wretched Fate Fleshlighting there, but there's also Wretched Fate Fleshlighting there. It was that good. I actually managed to buy it twice. Don't ask me how I done it, but yeah.
It's just that good.
So I am a true fan.
Nice. I love that. Yeah.
Is it both versions?
No.
Okay, yeah, okay, because there's a re-release with 2 bonus tracks. So.
No, they're not. They've both got 12 songs on them. So, well, what was I going to say? So with some of the albums being like 4 years old then, is it just purely because of COVID, it's just pushed everything back? I mean, was this album ready to be released in 2021, for example, or even sooner?
There's a bit of COVID as you say, of course, mainly because like pressing the vinyl was postponed by like 13 months or something like that, since everyone was releasing, since they couldn't play live. But we've kind of been sitting on our asses as well, to some degree. So kind of when we realized that the vinyl press was going to be so far away, we kind of slowed down, I would say, with the mixing and mastering and
and because Mats, who's writing most of the music or he's writing the music and mixing everything and producing everything, I think he felt as well as Adrian did, that because of everything being delayed because of COVID, you could actually like take it down a notch, slow it down, and then rework some of the stuff that I think you guys weren't really happy with, and try to polish that a little bit extra. So that actually, it gave us a little bit more time to actually really work on polishing it and make sure that it's good, you know.
It sounds stupid to say, but this is the best that Carnal Heresy is going to be when it's released on Friday. Then, absolutely, it's good. It's the best. It's the best sounding it's ever going to be. You can't tweak it anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. But after being in a band for a number of years now, so for those that are new to the band, how would you say it compares to your early material, in particular your debut album, Fleshlighting? And do you think you've found the sound that you've been looking for with this Carnal Heresy?
I think I'm gonna answer the latter part of that question first.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure we're ever going to find a particular sound with this band. Because we're constantly evolving, and we constantly want to try new stuff. So I don't think there's ever going to be a record that sounds like the previous one with Wretched Fate. But the first part of your question regarding the differences between this album and the previous one is, I would say this is less cinematic. We trimmed away a lot of fat that was part of the concept for Fleshlighting. Basically, we said that, okay, this is our debut album. We want to push everything we have into this album.
Yeah.
So all the elements that we feel like are part of the music that we want to hear and that we want to make, we need to push all of that into this record so that we get like this creative outlet for all the stuff, which pushed the playtime to 57 minutes, which is, well, it's suboptimal.
It's almost Doom. It's a Doom metal release.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it carried with the long playtime. It carried with some problems regarding pressing vinyls, since, well, our vinyl was actually the first vinyl that Redefining Darkness pressed. So, I mean, he wasn't going for a double vinyl, his first pressing. Which is necessary if you have a playtime of 57 minutes. You're not going to fit that onto just two sides, so to speak. Yeah,
cool. Thank you very much for that. Robin, what do you think about the difference in Fleshlighting and Carnal Heresy then?
I mean, I think this record is... well, Fleshlighting was like, you have these songs, and they're just a bunch of riffs, right? That's what it is. It's just and it's just like, oh, this song's good, this song's good, this song's good. Let's put them together into an album. Carnal Heresy is like a full. I'd say it's more of like a concept, really, where it's like a package. You know what I mean? It's like it's thought through, like what kind of sound we want throughout the record, what we want to happen throughout the record, and so to speak. And this album is, I'd say it's a lot darker than the previous album.
Yeah,
as well.
Cool. Very much looking forward to hearing it. But was there ever? It's a discussion that I have with older bands and younger bands. Older bands like the album, they like the artwork, they like the package, they like the lyrics, they like the beginning, the middle, the end. Whereas the younger generation are kind of like single, couple of months, single. Did you ever think of releasing like an EP or anything like that, or was it always a conscious decision? Right, after Fleshlighting, we're going to do our second album.
I would say albums are like our natural preference. We really like the aspect of piecing it together, like which songs go where, the track list, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just feels natural to us, and it's part of the creative process. So we definitely prefer that. And we're not really releasing this music because we believe we're going to hit the mainstream and hit the billboards. So
get some money.
yeah.
I think if you want to make some music when you're playing underground death metal, you're in the wrong genre.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask if you've actually got any ballads in the album. No, I thought Adrian he's looking. I was going to bring his Motley Crue influences into the band.
Yeah.
There's actually some acoustic guitar. That's as close as you get.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks very much for that, guys. But I also see, so it's a 9-song album. So did you ever have like 15, 16 songs and you've just narrowed it down to 9? And have you got something in plan for the ones that are left over?
We actually, I believe we have like 3 songs left over from the writing sessions of this album, and we're still looking into what we're going to turn that into.
Yeah.
And they required quite some reworking before they were like acceptable songs. So we'll see what we're going to do with those leftovers, so to speak.
Cool.
But yeah, we usually write more songs than we need on the album, which we also did for Fleshlighting. We released Embedded in Flesh together with a Ways to the Grave cover, and Embedded in Flesh was in the beginning meant for Fleshlighting. So.
Yeah.
So that means that Fleshlighting would have been even longer album. So we had to trim that down. So yeah.
No, cool. Thanks very much for that, guys. But I also see that you've enlisted a couple of guest vocalists, Michael Haney of Disrupted, who have played on my radio station a few times, and Alexander Hogbom of October Tide as well. So how did these come about? And it must have been cool to have them on the record as well.
Yeah, fucking fantastic. I mean, they're both really killing it on their respective tracks. Actually, we met Mikael at our first gig ever, which was hosted by Alexander. So
Two birds with one stone then, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So we met Mikael and Thomas from Disrupted in the crowd after our first gig. So we bonded quite easly, and then it's just natural to have both him and Alexander on the record.
Yeah, cool. What about yourself, Robin? Did they take a lot of convincing to get on?
No, not really. I mean, both of them are really easy people to work with, and we know them pretty well. They're friends of us by now. So it wasn't, I don't think there was any question like who should we have or anything like that. It was more like, okay, so we got the album, let's ask them, let's do it. And they were like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it turned out great. So yeah.
It's something that a band that is on your label, actually, Redefining Darkness Anger, they do it a hell of a lot, and the guests that they get on their album is just absolutely stunning, and I love Anger Rot. Is that something that you think you're going to continue doing as well? Just getting guests on, actively seeking out your idols, maybe?
It's also like a fun thing to mix in with the creative process once again, like to mix in new elements. And I know some of the song rhythms for Harlots for Suffering, which is the one which we employ Hannes vocals on. He actually rearranged some of the vocal rhythm, so there's also there's always that element of like bringing something new into your process.
Yeah.
Did
you take offense when he was like changing the lyrics or anything like that? Those are my lyrics, don't you touch them.
No, definitely not. No, We pretty much gave them the lyrics, like, this is what you're going to sing, and then how they're going to sing it. I mean, I make a like demo recording of my vocals, the way I think they should be sung, and then if they have a better idea, then let's go for the better idea, you know.
Yeah.
So no pride in that, really.
Yeah, and it's always fun to partly just to, like, you know, get people we know and people we respect and things like that into the album, but it's also very interesting to just have another artist's like actual like take and feel to the whole thing and bring in like another dimension to the whole thing, you know. Because when you're listening to, especially for us, we're listening to the song, we've done that for a very long time, and it's like, this is the way it's supposed to sound like, and then somebody else comes and, you know, does their thing, and you're actually like, holy shit, this is great, like, why didn't we think of this? Like, this is actually really good. And as he said, Honey kind of rearranged the whole rhythm of the vocals, and then with Alexander's vocals, he has like, he brings like another, like, he brings like depth to the sound, because he has so much punch in his vocals. Like, they're actually like, when you hear it, it's like it hits you in the face, and it's like, it's really cool. So yeah, that was great.
Absolutely. But I was just wondering if Adrian's shitting himself. He's now under threat as being the vocalist of the band.
No worries as of yet. We'll see in the future. But
Cool. But I see that your guitarist Matt says the technical know-how to record, mix, and produce the album again. So what can you tell us about where it was recorded? Because if the results are similar to Fleshletting, then the sound on that album was just exceptional. Loved it.
It's done in Matt's apartment, actually. Most recordings.
It was so loud. Fleshletting, it was just so loud. It was so heavy.
Yeah. Mats really knows his stuff. But yeah, most of Fleshletting was recorded in his apartment, both the vocal takes and guitars and so forth. He actually built this isolated box to put his
his cabinet.
Just to record the album. And this album, some parts were done in a studio and some parts were done in his apartment, basically.
Okay, so how long did it take you to record the album?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I mean, it's sorry, you go on.
No, you go on.
I think it's very hard to pinpoint because we recorded it, and as we said, you know, during COVID and everything like that, I know Matt's for a fact a couple of times for like, when we thought that, okay, everything's done, he was like, no, I'm gonna re-record the guitar parts because I'm not happy with the sound. And we were like, okay. And so he like redid some parts and all of that. But for my part, I went to his place to record bass, and I did that over the course of a weekend. So I went up on Friday and then just did it on Friday and Saturday and a little bit on Sunday, and that was it.
Yeah.
Just for the bass. And then I can't really answer for how long he took on his guitar parts and all that, but I know he put a lot of work into it. So definitely longer than a weekend, that's for sure.
We're going to talk about yourself, Adrian, quite a bit soon. But when it came to recording the vocals for an album, then did you do like a couple of songs one weekend and then it was a couple of months before your next couple of songs, or was it quite heavy for you for a few days and you felt it in your throat and things like that? So how did you go about recording the vocals?
Well, actually, when we went into the studio to record the first track of the album, I hit this obstacle with my vocals, which I had never encountered before. So basically, for Fleshletting, I could just start growling in an instant.
Yeah.
But for this album, that simply didn't work. I couldn't perform properly. So I actually, for this record, I had to properly learn what is it that I'm actually doing? Now I actually warm up. So any vocal coaches, you can relax. No,
so how do you warm up then? What's your routine?
Basically, I warm up with traditional singing exercises first, and then I do this kind of like breathing exercise for my false chords, and then I move on to the fry vocals. And nowadays I actually do this routine on my way to work, so that so my voice is always up to speed, so to speak. And I do a lot of talking at work as well, so your throat and your voice gets a bit tired even from that. So just doing the exercises every day has helped me a lot. So now maybe I don't need an hour of warm up when we're rehearsing or something like that. I'd rather need like 15 minutes and I'm up to speed. So
yeah.
So there's been a lot of work behind the vocals for this album, and I hope it's evident from the final product.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting to say all that, because my last interview was Carl Willits of Memoriam, and he just said more whiskey and smoking more fags. But
yeah.
But that was the most other thing. I just wondered if you sang in the shower or you sang in the car on the way to work and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. Do you think it was related to COVID? That's what damaged your cords once you had it, or it's just
no?
one of those
This
things?
is I actually caught COVID after we started recording, so it wasn't related to that, and I haven't had any consequences from COVID, so that's a great relief.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just came to a point where what I was doing wasn't working anymore, and I got really tired after like 30 minutes, and I'm used to doing vocal takes for an hour straight and then having a short break, doing another hour, and so forth. So even if we don't record the whole album in a few days, it's more like you mentioned, like there might be a month or a couple of months between recordings. But yeah, I'm used to doing long sessions where we delete 90% of the takes.
You must be raging.
yeah.
But like my colleague behind me, Kieran of Ashen Crown, he got COVID, and it took him about 3 months before he got his vocals back. He really was quite concerned about it, So it's great to hear that you're not just back, but you're even stronger. So very much looking forward to listening to this. But yes, I also see that you returned to, I don't know how to pronounce this, Huetover Studios in the Netherlands, we'll go with that, to have it mastered. But firstly, why did you choose this studio? And did you think of going somewhere else this time, or were you always going to go back there for this album? Because it's a formula that you now have, like Matt does the recording and everything, and that's where it's going to be mastered.
Yeah, like we got in touch with JB at Huetover Studio through Redefining Darkness Records. He recommended his services, and like he performed really well on Fleshlighting, so we didn't see any reason not to employ him for Carnal Heresy as well. If it works, don't fix it.
Absolutely. But is there anything about the way that you recorded this album that you did differently than Fleshlighting that you'll maybe take going forward to the next release?
I think we well, for one, I think we actually, I think everyone was kind of like more included to like the whole process as a band this time around. So everybody had a chat. Well, everybody had like input and all of that, and like we're more involved into the album. With the previous album, I wouldn't say it was like everyone was still involved, but I think that time around it was more Mats and Adrian writing everything, and we were just like on board with it, This time around, I'd say like Samuel has had a lot of impact on the drums to have his say about what he wants the drums to be and everything like that in the writing process, and for Fred, our newest guitarist, to get the opportunity to lay down some solos and things like that. So I think like as a band we've been more in it together this time around.
So maybe put it simply, you're more of a band now. Than before. But is Matt's right? Well, okay, Adrian, is Robin the type of guy that would send you a riff at 4 o'clock in the morning, saying this is my best riff I've ever written, by the way, and we should include this in the album?
If Robin would do that.
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't say so, but if it did, we would shoot it down immediately.
yeah, that's probably true. I'm a shit guitarist. That's why I play bass.
I see I thought that was a guitar behind you there, the one with the white head.
Yeah, it is. I have a bunch of guitars, and it's mainly just for me, for my own purposes. I'm a shit guitarist. But the funny thing is, when it comes to Matt's writing, it's like usually it's like so Mats doesn't really like to just like give us a riff or something, because he has this idea in his head that's a full song. So he wants to write the song in its entirety and then show us like the full song, like it's done, here's the song, because he doesn't want to give us something that's not ready yet, so that we give him inputs on his like creative process or whatever. So he always presents like songs that are already done. And he goes to Adrian first. I'd say, well, they are the two people that writes all this stuff, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that I think that's actually a good thing, because I mean, we all know what we want Wretched Fate to sound like, but as for me, as I said, like I'm not a good enough guitarist, for example, and I know that Mats is more than capable, and Adrian as well, more than capable of making that actual like thought into something, you know. So it's actually been really nice to just, you know, get like a ready song to you, like here's the song, here you go, this is what you're gonna play, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So
is that quite a hell of a lot of pressure on yourself, Adrian and Matt? Do you welcome like contributions from the band, or are you quite happy the way things are just now?
I mean, I've tried both models, so to speak, with having a more democratic writing process where everyone is involved, and having this more, I would say, focused creative process between a duo, which is me and Mats. And I'm not going to take credit for much of the music, because Mats writes 90 to 99% of the material.
Okay.
And then I give inputs like, no, this doesn't cut it. You should try this instead, and so forth. So I'm kind of the quality check, so to speak. But Mats is the driving force behind the music, without a doubt. So I don't have much to say about the songs either, to be honest. It's more like I have to put my foot down sometimes and tell Mats that, no, I like this idea, but it doesn't work with this song, or it doesn't work with this band. Like for Carnal Heresy, it was the first time I had to shoot down an entire song, actually, because Mats has this side project that is called Scum. It's the Swedish word for shame. So that's a grindcore project, and he wrote a song that sounded like Scum, and I had to say, no, I'm sorry, Mats, but this is not what Wretched Fate is supposed to be. So I had to put my foot down for the first time, and that's more like how we're working. So Mats presents something, and we tweak it, more or less.
Yeah.
So Robin, is it fair to say that Adrian's the moody one of the band? He's the one that goes in the huff?
Yeah.
The hardest to please?
No, but like Adrian said, I've also like tried the whole democratic thing, And what can happen is when you have like 5 different people and, you know, they all have different ambitions and you want to, you know, get into the creative process, like from our experience, like previously from previous things we did when we were kids, it's like, doesn't really work out. And for me, like in my opinion, me and Adrian, I know Adrian and I have kind of similar opinions on what we like and how we want things to sound. So I don't really have that much to say because I know if I have something to say, then Adrian has already said it for me. So, so it's all really convenient for me, honestly.
No, cool. That's excellent. Thank you very much for that, guys. That's great. Thanks a lot for that, guys. But we're going to talk about the visual side of the album for a wee minute. Do you see yourself releasing a couple of videos to coincide with the album release then? I don't think you've released one already. Was it a lyrics video you've actually done? But do you see yourself like doing a band video or doing a non-location video or anything like that?
We're definitely looking into alternatives. I have a particular studio in mind that might be able to help us with that. Of course, we would like a video. We actually did some live recordings with a organization called Usha Live Sessions.
Yeah.
So we played our songs live.
That?
So it's not exactly like music videos, but they kind of purvey the same function, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would definitely like to do more videos. We just need to figure out exactly what we're going to do for what song and who to employ and so forth.
Is there any member of the band that has the more visual ideas? I mean, I'm wondering, like, because of COVID and whatnot and the state of the music business at the moment, has it made you look at the more business side of the band, and you guys personally have maybe taken on roles that you haven't expected to, like the merch and the marketing and the promotion and all that nonsense?
Yeah, I think, I think both me and Adrian are kind of mostly the ones pulling all of that.
Okay.
I'd say right now, I do a lot of the merch and everything around that. And then I also do our website and things like that, which I built. And then Adrian does all the talking with, has done all the talking with Thomas and Redefining Darkness and everything to go with releases and all of that. And then we take turns answering emails and doing things like that. Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of videos. I did for Fleshlighting. I did some, you know, like countdown teaser videos.
Yeah.
And I also did like a release video. Because I've always enjoyed putting together videos. And just playing with not like actual filmed footage. You know what I mean? Like instead of having the band in front of you, to kind of like visualize the music in a sort of way.
Yeah.
So I play around a lot with that on my free time, but we'll see if that actually ends up anywhere or if I just end up throwing it in the bin, you know.
So it's fair to say, like, if you looked at a couple of songs off the album, you're the one that has the visual idea to think this is what we can do in the video for it.
I think we all kind of have, like, when it comes to like making an actual music video, I think we all kind of have the same idea, and I think we're all as a band and like we all have the same vision. It's just a matter of how we're going to actually produce and how we're going to make it, and you know what kind of setting we want and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the videos that I have made previously was just me, and I was just like, you know, because I listened to the songs and I was like, I get these images in my head and I try to kind of like project that into. I don't know. It's weird and nerdy, you know.
Well, I mean, obviously there's a cost to absolutely everything that you do. So, if you can do it in house with the ideas that you come up with, Robin, and it's promoting the music and keeping the name of Wretched Fate out there, then why the hell not? You know. It's the same with Matt's. He does all the recording and producing and the mixing and stuff like that, So that's the way. I mean, the way things are just now, you could release an album from your own bedroom. It's just absolutely crazy. But yeah,
which is pretty much what we did. So
yeah. But also on the visual side of that album, I'm going to talk about the artwork for a second, because I see that you continued to walk away from the blood and gore of death metal, but I see there is a wee bit of blood and gore on this second album, Carnal Heresy. But I see that you've also returned to Skaldvaldur. He should change his bloody name, Skaldvaldur. Right. So for the album, for the artwork for this album. So again, was that an easy decision to make? But what I'm interested in is, what information do you give him for him to come out with this album cover? Do you get him to listen to all the music, the lyrics, the song titles, or did one or two of you say, right, this is what I've got in my head, what do you think?
Usually we prompt him with like a few ideas that we have, and then he does most of the work, I would say. We give him a few references, like for this album cover, a important reference was Butchered at Birth by Cannibal Corpse, which is pretty much the best album cover there is.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, it's still shocking. So
absolutely.
And then we also give him some concepts from the lyrics, so that he has something to work with. And then he pretty much a few hours later, he just shows us that, like, this is my idea. I'm going to flesh it out, but this is my core idea. And then we're like, holy shit, man, you did this in 2 hours. So he's really easy to work with. And like, it was the same for Fleshletting. Basically, we had this small sketch of a corpse that was stuck on a pike, basically, and some surrounding birds. And that's the cover he came up with. So he's he's a great guy.
He's absolutely
it's weird how that works, because as Adrian said, like, we just sent him some references and like a song or something, and like usually like we don't really have that much to say. Like, it's weird how he just gets it.
So see, when he came back with the album cover, then is that what you actually were thinking you wanted it to be? Or did he just blow you away with this artwork and just, that is it? That's what we're using?
I think he really caught on to the whole concept of the album and the lyrics. And the cover is tightly connected with two songs, actually. Umbilical Suffocation, which is like the fetus that's entangled in the entrails of the woman. But also the song Harlots for Suffering. That's tightly connected with the album cover, and he just caught on to that immediately. Of course, we do some tweaking. Like, we don't necessarily like this detail, you should try this, but most of the work is done simply by Skaldvaldur. So
I like how he does very little color at all, but with the blood and guts coming out in the middle, it's red. So
that's a great detail.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. But Adrian, with you being the vocalist of the band, then, do you write all the lyrics, or do you welcome contributions from other members of the band?
The other guys can fuck off. No, actually, it's mainly me and Mats writing the lyrics. Basically, we hang out, watch some retro horror movie, and use that as inspiration, basically.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, actually. Are you the type of guy that is, you've always got a pad or a piece of paper and a pen on you, and you see something in the street, you take a wee note about it, and then you come back at night and you write more about it? Or do you read a lot of books, or do you watch a hell of a lot of documentaries? But you've just said about horror movies, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a bit of horror movies, but then also for this record, I started getting into H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's the most cliche topic for death metal lyrics that there are, but I kind of put my own twist to it. I like to mix it up with some actually philosophical questions. Now I'm sounding really pretentious, but that's just the way the way it is. So I mix it up with that kind of mix between surrealism and realism, more or less. And then there's the usual horror movie stuff. But some songs Mats did the lyrics on his own, and I did some lyrics on my own, and then we meet somewhere in the middle with some of the other songs.
You've probably chosen the most difficult author to read.
Yeah.
His books are horrendous, some of them, you know, to try and understand and read.
But that's kind of the point. He kind of writes them so that you're supposed to be confused. You're supposed to wonder what's actually going on, and that really stuck with me. I think we tried to put that into the music as well.
Yeah. I mean, you're reading out the Mountains of Madness in one hand and you've got the dictionary in the other, you know?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of like markings in my well, it's this anthology of Lovecraft. So
yeah, cool. But also you say that Mats writes some lyrics as well. How easy or difficult is it for him to convey how he wants you to sing them, and for you to get what it is that he wants?
Well, that part of the process isn't very democratic. It's more or less, Mats says, you're going to do this. These are the words. You're going to sing them like this. And that's just the way it is. But sometimes when I write the lyrics, I do the same. I'm like for utterance from the Inhuman Tongue, I said, I really want to do this cramped syllables like Corpse Grinder style, and push as many words into a sentence as possible and just let it rip, you know. So I had some influence on the vocal rhythms, but mostly it's just Mats saying that, yeah, my idea if you're going to do this, and then sometimes, as per usual, I tweak some stuff. But we work a lot with the vocals, like pronunciations. For example, we want this more British pronunciation of words because it simply sounds better when you growl them. It can sound a bit ridiculous when you're emphasizing kind of like rolling R's that are more prevalent in American English. And it's also the way Mikael Åkerfeldt of Opeth and previously Bloodbath, it's the way he does his vocals, and that's like the main inspiration for us. So yeah, a lot of work with the pronunciation, rhythm, and so forth.
Cool. Thank you very much for that. Are we going to hear more of your vocals, Robin?
Not really on this record, no. But I do provide some backing vocals live.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've actually it's been a bit of a journey for me because Adrian has been my personal vocal coach, if you will.
And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, so
exactly. No, because usually what we did since day one, it's just like we wanted some backing vocals, and both Mats and I do backing vocals. But for me, like I didn't really have like any technique or anything. What I did was I drank beer and I just fucking went for it, you know. And it felt good, but then you listen back to it when there were like live recordings and shit, and it was just like, this isn't working out, you know. So I started to actually, like Adrian said, like when you get the time, you know, in the car or whatever, and then I started working on that. And then so what we do when we go to rehearse, because we all live very far apart in Sweden. So what I usually do is I go to Adrian's place at first with the train, and then we go by car from his place to the rehearsal space, which is a couple of hours away. So what we do is when he wants to, because he warms up in the car on the way there, and he was just like, Robin, it's time for you to start warming up as well, because it's gonna help you. And I was like, I don't need that. I don't need warming up. It's fine. It's fine. And then I tried it, and I was like, holy shit, you're right. It actually helps. So yeah, just to summarize, I do a bit of backing vocals live, but nothing on this record, I'm afraid.
Cool. So how do you think you're going to be? In fact, I'm going to keep that for later, Adrian. I'm going to keep that for the very last question. Hope I can remember it. But yeah, you kind of touched on it there. So where do you rehearse and record your songs? So you're saying that you live in different parts of Sweden then. If you're going to play like 3 or 4 gigs together, then how often would you meet up, and how much of an arduous journey is it? How much of a trek and a half is it to get there and stuff?
Well, from my place, it's a 2-hour drive to the rehearsal space. I would say it's the same for Robin if he were to drive immediately from, or maybe more than 2 hours. I'm not sure. We kind of meet in the middle of all our homes, more or less, in this really small town. Also, the rehearsal space is arranged by Alexander Högbom. So once again, like, he's meant a lot to us.
Yeah,
obviously.
shout out to him.
But yeah, so it takes a lot of planning. And once we actually go to rehearse, we rehearse for like 3 to 4 hours for 2 days straight.
I think it's even more. I think it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah, could be.
But yeah,
so we really dig into it. Yeah, so we really dig into it once we actually rehearse. But I mean, we kind of rehearse like 3 or 4 times every half year, more or less. So.
I mean, obviously, because of the release of Carnal Heresy and having to, rehearse a new set list and all that, we are, because we're having a release gig in 2 weeks from now.
Talk about that. I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah. No. So and because of that, there's a whole new set list that we need to rehearse, and we've been going at it, I'd say, pretty intensively for. So we do every 2 weekends we meet up, and then we just go, from Saturday and Sunday, just 5 hours Saturday, 5 hours Sunday, and just like straight up, and we do that. We've been doing that. I think this is like our 4th time in 2 months or so, I think. And so what we do is we all drive up there. I have for me, like, I think I travel 4 hours to get there in total. So we all kind of travel a bit, and then we stay there. We sleep in the studio.
Yeah.
We sleep in the control room of the studio.
I'm sure you brought supplies with you though, like beer and snacks and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's half of the fun. So it's 4 hours of rehearsing, and then it's like 8 hours of just
partying.
Partying,
So really, what we're saying is here, the album could have been released 2 years ago, but you've been partying too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
That's totally true.
But I think you guys have been pretty much. It's the same lineup. I mean, yeah, you got the new guitarist in 2021, I think it was, but you pretty much had it solid from the beginning in 2016. So how do you think you managed to keep it together? Because I can imagine, like, when the songs are coming together, there's a wee bit of negotiation. Like, how do you keep it all together? Like, keeping this part out of a song or putting this part into a song? Is there not any like blood on the walls or fisticuffs in the studio or anything like that?
I mean, I think
actually, yeah, I would say me and Robin have been having at it, so to speak.
Yeah, we have, but you also have you have to remember that apart from being a band and all that, we're also really good friends, and first and foremost, we're just really good friends, which also means that we're so close that you can get heated sometimes. You know what I mean? But it's like so it can get heated at times, but then you give it an hour or a day or whatever, and it's all fun and games again. So
I've got a funny feeling, Robin. No, I've got a funny feeling Adrian doesn't back down.
Oh no,
no, I don't think so.
I mean, I've gotten my ass kicked a couple of times, but it is what it is.
I would also say I know exactly what buttons to push when it comes to Robin.
yeah. That's. I think we all do, and that's the funny thing is what we like to do, even if we're just having fun, is you just find these little spots where you can just push. You know what I mean?
See, at the end of the day, though, if it makes the album sound so good, then it's worth it in the end. You all clink glasses at the end of the night and shake a can of beer and all the rest of it. So it's all harmless. It's all harmless. It's not personal. So it certainly has been, because that's 8 years 7 years you've been together now. So you must like each other a wee bit.
Yeah, but
I never thought about that.
I mean, time flies, but I mean, like, I think you and I, when we met, Adrian, I think we were like 16 or something like that when we first started hanging out. And Fred, our new guitarist, I've known him since I was, I don't even know, 10 years maybe. So, I mean, as a whole, we're just good
close
friends.
enough.
Good. We're just close friends,
Good. But now that the world has opened up its doors again to playing gigs, I noticed that you have an upcoming gig with Disrupted and Catacumba, another two bands that I've played on the radio, you see. I do notice things. So you're going to have this album release show. How's it looking so far? And do you have much bigger plans further afield? What do you have planned for 2023 then?
Well, I would kind of say that while there were problems with putting out music during COVID because everyone was putting out music, now there's no restrictions. Everyone wants to hit the road.
Absolutely.
So the competition is insane, I would say. Everyone wants a spot at the few places that actually play our style of music. So it's a heavy competition. We're looking into venues, but it's kind of hard to reach through the static, so to speak.
Yeah. What would you like to do, Robin? Would you like to go on like a week-long tour of Sweden or a couple of festival dates and things like that? What would be your dream?
I mean, of course, getting away for it's even a week, but getting away for a month in Europe, go to Germany, maybe, go to the UK, stuff like that. That would, for me, and I think for all of us, would be not the dream, but that's what we would like to do. And but yeah, and I mean,
you would like to meet the fans that have bought your CDs.
For sure. And we're certainly starting to look into it a little bit and see what we can do in the future. But as Adrian said, it's kind of hard right now because everybody wants to play,
Yeah.
And also, what would also be really cool for me is going to the US and playing with, because Redefining Darkness had their own festival last year. They're not doing it this year, but maybe next year. And it would be really cool to go there and play with the other bands from Redefining Darkness. That would be really cool.
But Robin, will your criminal record prevent you from getting in?
Probably, yeah, probably. So but I think we have a couple of good bass players on standby that could, fill in for me. So that's fine.
But it's the same down here in Scotland, well, the UK, but in Scotland as well. I mean, I come from Glasgow. Whenever big bands come over, sometimes they just play London, and that's what they call a UK tour. But when they actually tour the UK, they either come to Glasgow or Edinburgh. But as Adrian said, you can have 3, 4, 5 gigs on at the same night, and it just immediately splits the audience. So it is hard. But I do have a festival which isn't officially announced yet on October the 7th. So can I ask you to cut costs? Could you start swimming? So if you swim,
sure.
And you'll make it in time. Excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I'm busy organising that just now. But it would be fab if you can play and stuff like that. But hey ho. But yeah, you'll have to. You'll have to wear like your speedos and start swimming and stuff like that. So.
I'll swim how far you ever like, man. That's fine.
Cool.
You say swim, I say how far.
I like him, Adrian. I like him. I've only got a few questions left, guys. I appreciate the time that you've been on this. So you've been signed to Thomas and Redefining Darkness Records for your 2 albums now. So how did it come about? How's the relationship been so far? And what do you hope Redefining Darkness will bring to Wretched Fate?
It began with me emailing a bunch of record labels, actually, and Redefining Darkness was one of the few that actually got back to us. Even though I directed Thomas to a misspelt email address. So yeah. But the relationship has been absolutely amazing. Thomas is an amazing coach. He really knows the ins and outs of the business. So yeah, he's been really important to us. And I see no reason for the time being for us to switch out our record label. Quite the contrary. It feels good to be part of their growth.
Yeah.
And as I said, Thomas has been super important for our growth, both as persons and as a band. So
I mean, he's got a huge roster. Do you know, I compare him to like, I see Carnal and Transcending Obscurity and Thomas Redefining similar, because you keep on finding these fucking jewels in the crown. I mean, yourselves, Anger Rot, Sentient Horror. There's a UK band, Seven Doors as well. Yeah. So, I mean, he keeps on finding these bands. So, you don't need Nuclear Blast or Century Media. Yes, it would be nice, but you're on a perfectly stable label with Redefining.
Yeah, and it really feels great having Redefining as our label.
Yeah, and it's like he has really like taken us like under his wings, so to speak, because it's like I don't know, it feels good to have a label that actually cares about the music and you as a band, because you know, a lot of the times, especially like, you know, some of the labels, you know, they're only out for money or this and that and what sells and what doesn't sell, but like Redefining Darkness, they're just genuine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they really, you know, live for what they're doing, and it's been nothing short of a pleasure, you know, to work with them. So yeah.
Excellent. I've actually just looked at my sheet there. I've only got the one more question left, but it could probably start another 40-minute conversation, but my 10-minute warnings came up again. Because I'm going to talk about the instruments that you used in the recording of this album. So we'll start off with you, Robin. What was your bass, your model, because I can see you're the geek of the band. You've probably got about 40 pedals for your bass. What was your
fun fact? I actually don't. But no. So usually I play an Ibanez.
I was going to say, is it there?
Nice. Yeah, an Iceman, a 4-stringed Iceman bass that I've been using for a couple of years now. I really love this bass. But for the recording, we actually went for a Fender bass that we borrowed from a friend of ours. So it's a 5-string Fender Roscoe Beck signature, which is basically like, okay, here's where it gets nerdy. Okay, so, but it's basically a mix between like a jazz bass and a P bass. And they're pretty rare, so they don't really make them. They didn't make too many of them, but the sound of them is just so fucking massive. It has this huge sound and this punch to the like the punch to the low end that just hits you in the face.
So
we
when
borrowed
he's
that
ready
from
to
our
sell it,
friend.
you're going to be buying it.
Oh yeah, no, I told him for the last like 8 years or something that whenever you're selling that bass, you're selling it to me. So we used that, and then I think it was pretty simple. We used that, and then I had an overdrive pedal, which was a dark glass. I believe it was Alpha Omega.
Yeah.
Just an overdrive pedal, and I think that was it. And then Mats did some EQing and all that, some mixing, and But I think as far as like the gear that I used for the album, that was it.
Right, I'm going to be daft here, right? So you used a 5-string for the recording, yeah?
Yeah.
When you play live, you play with a 4-string.
Yep.
How'd you manage that?
So,
do you play invisible notes?
No, since I'm a bass player and I play death metal, I pretty much only use like 2 or 3 strings. No, so what I do is I tune this bass down to a B.
Okay.
So it's down tuned. And because usually when Mats writes the idea for the song, he only writes on a 4-string as well. So it just so happened that the bass that I used was a 5-string, but everything is written on a 4-string, so it's just like a down-tuned 4-string on the record.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Robin. That was appreciated.
No worries.
Adrian, being the vocalist of the band, then have you went through like a range of microphones before you're happy with the sound of this particular microphone, or are you the type of vocalist just give me an SM50 and I'll fucking sing it into it? I can guess already.
Yeah, I would say the latter. That's not the case with Mats, however. so nothing is good enough for Mats. But at some point you have to settle for a microphone. So I'm actually not sure what microphone we used for the album, because I don't get into that at all. As you say, give me an SM57 or whatever. Yeah.
But how do you think you're going to be, for example, because when recording an album, you can do 1 or 2 songs at a time, and then a couple of weekends, then you're back at it again. How are you going to be on your release show when you're doing a 50-minute set, an hour-long set?
Well, since we rehearse for like 5 to 6 hours at a time, and that won't be a problem, I hope. I don't want to jinx it. But yeah.
No, you're fine, dude. You're fine, dude.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be fine. Since I started doing these vocal exercises, sure, I get fatigued after 5 or 6 hours, absolutely, and my throat might be fatigued the day after as well. But like halfway into the set, you're just back in the saddle again. So that won't be a problem, I hope.
So did you ever join like a heavy metal band and you done like the clean singing, and then it was a thrash band, and then you've progressed to death metal, or you just your size and build on fucking death metal?
No, I actually started doing
singing Celine Dion vocal covers, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I actually started doing death metal vocals in like 7th or 8th grade, after I had heard A Taste of Extreme Divinity by Hypocrisy. So yeah, it was never any clean singing really. It was just straight into the death metal vocals. Yeah, and I've taken a lot of influence from Peter Teklin, of course.
It's a way to say that.
You were never really a death metal, like you started out as a guitarist.
Yeah.
And then that's the funny thing, because Wretched Fate was born with the idea of Adrian going to Mats and saying, hey, I want to try to record some vocals because I've never done that before, and that turned into Wretched Fate. So, and that was your first actual like recorded take on your death metal vocals. So
I'm going to correct you on that. It was more like this. Mats, I'm so fucking shit at playing guitar. Please let me do some vocals.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah.
That's more like it.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's taken a wee while for us to get there. I did look at the email interview that we had a couple of years ago, but during COVID, we've all just self-reflected, haven't we? And we've started just making ourselves grow. And I've been doing online interviews, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I'll do my bit for Moshville Radio, so when the album's released, if there's a particular song you want me to play, I will be sure as hell to play it, as I have done the last couple of weeks. Thanks, Robin, for tuning in. Adrian, fuck off. But yes, we'll do a bit. So Moshville Times in Scotland are strong supporters of Wretched Fate, so looking forward to seeing you guys in the flesh hopefully one day, and it's year round.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely.